My next guest is like the new global rock star of comedy from South Africa. Please welcome Trevor Noah to the stage. How are you, my friend? I think you're on.
Very good.
There you go.
Hi.
Do you know everybody? It's Tig, Seth, Jay?
I'm familiar. I've worked with Jay. Pleasure to meet you.
How was that for you, the working with Jay?
It was fantastic.
Yeah?
Was
it good for you, Jay?
Hell yeah.
Okay. So, it's nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
And
pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Everybody's very excited about your arrival in the world. Yeah. No, I've heard so much about your story, and it's something that I'm going to have to come at you right from the beginning of things, because I honestly am I don't know a lot about South Africa.
Okay. That's most people.
Yeah, well, good. So I'm not a moron.
No.
I just know
You're
at some
American.
point, right?
Not in a bad way. It's Americans. I've learned this don't know much about like the world.
Look, I was told I wasn't.
It's just a thing.
Okay, I can take it. Because you're right. But I do remember being concerned, and I remember when I was like 19, I was told never to play Sun City. But I had no job then, so it was not really an issue for me. So my awareness was raised by that album. So I know apartheid's bad.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a horrible situation, but I don't think anybody, American or not American, can really understand what you grew up in. What was the situation?
Well, apartheid was it's perfect racism. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. It's a model that was formulated over many years, where a group of men said, "How do we create the perfect racism?"
That was on the board.
That was literally them. That was them brainstorming. Yeah. And so
Hitler did his thing, but we're going to
take... Yeah, they traveled the world. They went to places like Australia, looked at their racism with the Aboriginals. They went and looked at... The word apartheid is a Dutch word. It's never been translated, in fact. And it really is. In fact, you could even say that it is like apartheid. That's what it is. You separate people into smaller groups, making them hate one another so that you can run all of them. And that's what apartheid was. So, like, white people were on top, like everywhere in the world, but like in this case, it was everyone was separated into their different tribes, different colors, different groups, and then those people had nothing. So everybody lived in this world. But the key thing is, black people are the majority in South Africa. So like in America with slavery and everything, the slaves, the black people were the minorities. But in South Africa, these people, a small group, were controlling everybody. They were running it, and the genius of apartheid is you're convincing people that they stand no chance.
It's a big mind fuck.
Yeah, basically it is.
And how did you grow up? You're mixed race.
Yes, I'm mixed race. I grew up. My mother's a black woman, Xhosa woman, from South Africa. My father's Swiss, from Switzerland. So they got together like during this time. There was like an underground movement where people would hang out.
Like a swingers club?
No. No, thank you for putting my parents in the swingers club, Marc. Thank you.
Thank you for calling my country retards.
And so, touche. And I think that's fitting for Montreal. No, there was basically an underground movement. There always are underground movements in every country where these things are happening, where people just don't agree with the status quo.
But you're talking underground in the sense like the Greenwich Village in the late 60s?
I guess so, yes.
So it wasn't like literally there was a secret handshake and there was a special room?
No.
Okay.
It was just people who didn't agree with the law.
Right.
Lots of them were foreigners. But there were many black people who didn't understand why this was the way it was, and there were many white people who went, "This is ridiculous," you know. So they would hang out with one another, and then that's where my parents met, and they did their thing, and you know.
And when you were growing up, I mean, like, how was it? Because you couldn't grow up in an underground club.
No, you couldn't.
So I mean, on a day-to-day basis, from your earliest memories. What was...
Wow, well, my earliest memories. I remember my mom, because we couldn't live in the city.
Yeah.
Black people couldn't live in the cities. That was just not allowed.
But where did they live?
You lived on the outskirts, like very far out. There were townships, like ghettos,
right.
You know, the slums. So everyone lived there if you were black. And then white people lived in the city. So black people, you had like a day pass. So you come in for the day, you work, and then you leave. And then if you were hardcore, you stayed behind and danced underground.
Right.
That's what you were doing. So we would come in, and then my parents couldn't live together. So they came up with weird schemes. I don't know why we never just moved to Switzerland, to be honest. I don't know. I've asked this question many times, and my mom she just didn't think of it as an option.
What about your dad?
And he's Swiss German. He just thinks the whole world is stupid. No, I'm being genuine. German is already efficient, but Swiss is clinically efficient. He just doesn't see.
He couldn't see the discomfort that he was living in?
No, he just thought everyone was stupid. He basically he thought someone would figure it out sooner or later. I think he just figured he'd wait it out. That's what he thought. Sure. He just sat there going, they'll figure it out. Sooner or later they can see it's wrong. And it was like after 10 years he was like, oh, anytime now. And then he just waited it out. And...
Is he still around?
Yeah, he is.
So I guess, does he now say, see, I told you?
Yeah, he's basically, no, but now he's the opposite. Now he's like, now it's time to leave. This country's going to blow up soon. It's going, so we couldn't live together. So they came up with weird schemes. Like my mom, through my dad, rented the apartment next door to his. But then it was still under his name, so he had the lease on both places.
Okay.
But then she would dress up and act like his maid, but not like a French maid, nothing sexy about this, like a cleaner, like a slave.
No, practical maid.
Practical maid.
Yeah.
No fantasies. And so she would act like his maid. So when the police would come knocking, then she would open the door and she'd be like, oh no, the white man's not here, oh he's not here today, and but then I would have to hide. Because if they saw me, then they'd be like, whoa, who's that? Because you can't go, this is the white man's kid, because they'd be like, that's not a white kid. And then the jig would be up, basically.
Was that illegal, though? I mean, was
yes,
there a threat?
Extremely illegal.
So if they found you, they would have taken you...
No. They just arrested my mom. They arrested her many times. Then I would stay with my gran. My mom would be in jail for the weekend.
Because she had you?
Yes. Like it would just be... Well, they didn't register me as South African. My birth certificate says I'm from Swaziland. Because they didn't, like when I was born, then the doctors were just like, So they were just like, oh, this is awkward. And so and then they wrote, and in South Africa they label everything on your birth certificate. Well, they used to. So they wouldn't just go Marc Maron and then American. They go Marc Maron, American, white, and then they'll list your tribe and are you Irish or are you get what I'm saying?
I do. So they break it down. Yeah, that's it.
But I did. So they on mine they didn't say I was Xhosa, which technically I am, and they didn't say I was Swiss, which they would not allow. They just said, oh, he's from another country. They're lighter there, and so that's what I had, and then they just didn't write my father's name in.
But growing up, I mean, there were other mixed race people. I mean, weren't there in the community or at the school?
No, you see, this is the weird thing in South Africa. This is how efficient apartheid was. So we have different levels of mixed people. So in South Africa, I'm technically referred to as coloured. That's what they call me. They go, I'm a coloured person. It's not a derogatory term at all. What happened was when the first slave ships arrived, and when everyone was fornicating with the natives, these children were born, the mixed children. But then they just segregated them into groups. So if you were mixed, then you were sent off to be with more mixed people. And then you were sent off, and the more mixes were... So you were just shipped off to the mix. So during apartheid, families were separated because of the color of their skin. Like if you as Marc had a white woman as your wife, and you gave birth to a child that looked like me, and let's say it just happens sometimes, not even like no shenanigans or anything.
Yeah, I don't know who my great-great-grandfather is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And your kid came out darker. There were instances where the government would go, that kid is not white. And then you'd fight it, but then they'd go, your kid's not white. And your kid would have to go live in a non-white area.
That's horrendous.
So some families would make the sacrifice. They'd go, okay, fine, we will live a second-class lifestyle. But some were so ridiculous, they were just like, well, good luck, kid. And then, no, genuine, and then to send the kids off. So families were broken apart on many levels.
And you weren't, though?
No. I went with I took the knock. I went to the black side. I could have gone to a better place, but I'm not that kind of guy.
So that was considered a better place, the mixed place?
Yes.
So there was actually...
literally, the lighter you got, the better things got for you. I'm being dead serious. Like, the darker you were, the worse things were. They did crazy things. Like, if they weren't certain if you were white or not, if you were Olivish or Greek or that, then they would conduct experiments to make sure that you were white. And one was the pencil test, where they would put a pencil in your hair, and then if the pencil fell out, then you were white. And then if the pencil stayed in your hair, then you were black. And they were like, goodbye.
It's very scientific.
Yes, very. So till this day, the hair thing is still like people are, oh, look at you, good hair, that's great hair, that hair will keep you out of trouble, my friend. That hair will, and some people just keep their hair short because they're like, I don't ever want to find out. I just don't want to,
Some people have a lifelong fear of pencils.
Yeah. So this was the world that people. So I grew up in a world where there was literally nobody like me in my area. I grew up in Soweto. And this was just black. It was just black. My family black. Everyone around me black. There was nobody who looked like me.
How did that play out? Did they bully you?
No, they were just. It's a strange thing I've noticed everywhere in the world. But when you go to a place where nobody wants to live there, nobody treats you weird for being there. Does that make sense? No one goes, hey, what are you doing here?
Because you're all stuck in the same shit.
It's a shithole, basically. So people, it's less, what are you doing here? Tomorrow, what are you doing here? It's that. It's them going, why would you want to be here? Did you not see your skin color? You've got a VIP tag. Why are you in the main section? Go to Golden Circle. Have a good time. That's what they're thinking.
Yeah.
And so people welcomed me. I learned the language. I knew I was different.
Yeah.
But it was a good life. I enjoyed it.
And where's your citizenship now?
Still South Africa.
So, and when you tour with this story, do you find that most people are shocked and amazed at then that they didn't realize the depth of it?
Yeah, people always go, we didn't know it was that bad. But people say it like they would have done more to help. That's my favorite thing. Oh, we didn't know. We didn't know. We did. Is it still like? Because we can come now. We can come now, Trevor. We can come. You're like, no, it's done. It's fine.
Do I just write you a check?
Yeah, it's very. It's look, a lot of people didn't, and that's what made the apartheid government so brilliant. Is even the way they traded. Like Reagan was a fan of apartheid.
Sure,
he was
tried to do it here, I think. But it's through economic policy.
But that's Reagan was a fan. Like he would meet with our government, and he was like, "How do you do it? You're so amazing." And they would explain it to him. And Margaret Thatcher was a fan. She was like, "Well, I see how this works. This is quite nice. I understand all of this." And that's like a lot of governments were a lot more lenient towards apartheid than they'd have you believe.
Right, but because underneath it was, so you pay nothing to get these resources?
Exactly.
We can pull this gold and these diamonds?
Yeah, how do you do it?
So cheaply.
Do you do it?
Yeah.
And a lot of governments were intrigued by this. So they just carried on, and then the South African government, their PR was fantastic. They would say things. I remember one speech, I think it was Hendrik Verwoerd, he was the architect of apartheid, and he said the most fantastic thing. He said, the BBC was interviewing him, and he said, they said, but don't you think what you're doing to the black people is really bad? The way you're treating them, the way you treat. And he said, you must understand, the native does not have the ability to govern himself. Were it not for the white men, he would be spearing his brother. They would be stabbing one another and hunting lions. We have introduced them to the future, and we keep them safe. And that's what he said.
It's fucking horrendous.
And so the other governments were like, yeah, well, I guess you are.
But people there were like, is he out of his fucking mind?
Yeah, people just, and then I guess over time, you know what I believe? Over time, no matter how great an evil is, sooner or later, like the people you will defeat it. Evil can't last. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Nature doesn't allow the thing to happen, so it was bound to end. I'm just glad it ended when it did, because I was on the cusp. I always say I was very lucky in that I feel like if I lived longer in apartheid, I may have had a lot more anger and hatred. Like my grandfather wasn't a hateful man, but he had not seen a world. Like he called me master, my own grandfather. He would never refer to me as Trevor or grandson, or he was just like, Master, where would you like to go? And we would be there in our little Volkswagen Beetle, and he would drive me. He wouldn't let me sit in the front with him because he was like, the white man sits in the back seat. And I was like, I'm not white. And he was like, very well, master. I was like this. But this is my own grandfather. Never treated me the same.
So he'd take you to ice cream and you'd be in the back eating your ice cream by
genuinely.
yourself?
He did not believe that I was the same. To be entrenched in a system like that, I was lucky that I was on the cusp. As I formed, apartheid ended, Nelson Mandela as president. Now I see the best of both worlds. I appreciate what we've gone through, but I also remember what happened. So it's a good balance, I feel.
Well, it's great to meet you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Trevor Noah.
Very much.
All right. I know we're a little late, but we're all right. We'll be done by 5 after.